we train our subconscious mind, that tells everything. So our reaction or our response to a circumstance is practically based on our subconscious mind. And not only that, let me tell you some interesting facts. It's actually about our childhood, how we were raised from our childhood, how independent we were taught to be, how high is our self-esteem. So self-esteem is something which starts developing right from birth, actually, because, for example, we have seen in our families, we say this child is so beautiful, and probably there's another child beside that child who is not so attractive, and people are not paying attention to that. So it starts right from there. So it's about our conditioning from all around that actually develops our self-esteem. It's about our peers, how they behave with us. It's about our parents, how they have behaved. Actually, right from the childhood till this age, like
Yes.
what
Yes.
kind of inputs you get, right?
Right. Right.
What kinds of stimuli you get.
Right.
That depends on your person. That develops your personality. And
Correct.
and yes, of course, the childhood part matters the most because you start thinking yourself in that similar direction. Like if somebody says you're not good at something, you start believing that.
Correct.
So if somebody says that your personality is not well developed, you're not good at speaking, or maybe you're not good at singing, you start believing in that. And
Right.
you don't even try to change that. You don't even try to practice changing or start doing things which maybe others do not approve of. That is how our conditioning starts. And then
Right.
it leads to lot many other things. Yes.
Correct. 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 Makes a lot of sense. I mean, the structuring of the mind from childhood makes all the difference till teenage and further. So let me also now ask Nitin, Mr. Nitin Prabhakar, to say a few words. He's worked in MNCs for over 15 years in the field of human resources, post which he started his venture Mind Parkour 3.5 years ago. He and his team trainers provide leadership and behavioral skills training in institutions, corporates, and government sector. Nitin is a postgraduate in MBA, certified soft skill trainer, and a certified NLP practitioner. So Nitin, welcome. Please say a few words before we start the interaction.
All right, Prashant, thank you very much for the kind introduction.
Yeah.
Before I start, let me congratulate Shushmita and Soresh for this awesome initiative.
Yes.
For bringing all of us together, and I'm sure this is going to bring in a lot of knowledge and wisdom to a lot of us. So absolutely right, Prashant, to what you said, and Roshni makes absolute sense as to how we are conditioned. Makes a lot of impact to what we are today, and to break that. Or make the change is the biggest difficulty. There are two things that I would want to speak about at this particular point of time. The number one thing is the identification of one's mindset. Am I a positive thinker? Am I a negative thinker? That in itself is a big question. During my one-on-ones and during my trainings, there are several interactions where somebody would come up and say, you know what, the road is bad, the government is bad, this is not good, and so on and so forth. And during a conversation, when I get to understand that this person is not even aware that the mindset is negative. So the first biggest issue that I see is the recognition that one needs to move from a negative mindset to a positive mindset. That's number one. Number two is the willingness to change. The willingness to change. So basically, let me try and give you another example. Let's assume that my communication is bad. Firstly, I need to recognize that my communication is not good. My English is not good. And thereafter, there needs to be a willingness to work on my speaking skills. Now, this basically says that 50% of the job is done. The other 50 is identifying the techniques and being very determined, being very dedicated. That's the other 50% of it. Now, the first 50% is the biggest challenge that we see today, where people are unable to identify that they need to change their mindset. Number two, their willingness to change. Right, so I would want to leave my thoughts there to you, Prashant.
So I guess it's also important to first realize that there is a need for change. Some people, I guess, get warped into that mindset, and they're not even realizing that there is a mindset issue there before we make the change. Is that right, Nitin?
Absolutely.
So, in these pandemic times, we have lots of challenges right now. Like, tell me, I mean, for the positive mindset, Roshni, there is this concept of, the fact that some of us are able to handle adversity well in terms of stress levels and all that. Some of us deal with it differently. Maybe they, in terms of emotions and other ways. So tell me, how do we deal with adversity better?
So yes, very pertinent, Prashant, and thank you for asking this.
Pleasure.
It's we have seen that different people deal with this stress or maybe adversities very differently. As I
Right.
said, it's because of the choices someone makes.
Yes.
If we see adversity is a stimuli and we have the choice to either respond or react to the stimuli, then there is this freedom of choice for response or reaction,
Yeah.
which is influenced by some characteristics like willpower, which even Nitin said, Nitin said, like we
Yes.
need to understand that we have to change. That is more about willpower and conscience. Even Nitin mentioned this as well.
Yes.
I have already said it's about self-awareness,
Yes.
and and it is about this imagination. Like, how will I be if I do that? That is also
Visualization.
very important. Yes, imagination
Visualization.
or visualization.
Right.
Like,
Right.
absolutely, absolutely. What
Yeah.
will happen if I really change that part of mine? So now again, I'll tell you, like when we talk about self-awareness, I always said that it is influenced by self-esteem. Now,
Mm-hmm.
very shortly, I will put forward few questions which can really find out whether we are high or low in the self-esteem continuum. There's a continuum
Mm-hmm.
for self-esteem, right? We can
Correct.
be low on it or high on it, and
Yes.
that's absolutely okay. But the thing is, we have to have that willpower or the willingness to change that, right? If we are low at self-esteem, we have to try to go at the higher side of the continuum. And for that, and Prashant, interestingly,
Yes.
like most of the people they think that their self-esteem is very high, which is actually incorrect. That
Mm.
perception is incorrect. We can be very successful in our career, but that doesn't mean we have very high self-esteem. So it is actually checked when we face adversities in life, and these are the questions we can ask ourselves to check that. So it's
Right.
like, yeah, if I have to ask you, how do you currently feel about yourself given what we are facing now? How are you
Mm.
feeling? You have to ask yourself. You don't have to answer here. It's
Yes.
something that you need to, yes, you need to answer yourself. So, do you engage in activities to escape your reality, whether you accept it or
Mm.
do you escape that? Or do you do anything to change that reality? These are three things. What do you do? What do you think you could never ever give up? That is, we
Right.
cling on to certain habits, right? We don't, we are scared to give up that habit. So, what is that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in all your thoughts? How do you spend the majority of your time? Like we are all in a phase, we are locked down inside our homes, probably. Even আমার মনে হয় আমাদের বাংলাদেশের বন্ধুরাও কোথায় লকডাউনেই আছেন। তো আহ, আমরা অনেকটাই হয়তো সময় পাই বাড়িতে অনেক কিছু করার বা পাইও না। বা অনেক সময় আমাদের কাজ ছেড়ে হয়তো আমরা চিন্তায় বসে যাই, সেই ভয়টা নিয়ে বসে যাই। আমরা কিভাবে অ্যাকচুয়ালি টাইমটা স্পেন্ড করছি, এটাও ভীষণ ইম্পর্টেন্ট। Do you consider your childhood a happy one? Like I said, our childhood
Mm.
decides this factor. So,
Right.
was it a happy one or a mixed one or not at all a happy one, rather a sad one? How often do you learn new things?
Mm.
Do you want to learn? Do you want to grow? Or you are happy as you are?
Right.
How open are you with others? How open are you? That shows your honesty. Like if you are honest, then definitely you will ask these questions to yourself honestly and would improve upon these areas. Like if you really have to.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you call when you need someone? That at some point of time we need to talk to someone. So who is that person you call and talk to? Why I'm saying this is because sometimes we need help, and it's absolutely okay. There's nothing
Absolutely.
wrong in it. Yeah.
True.
And what's the biggest risk you've taken? Why I ask this is because if you've at all taken any risk, shows that your self-esteem is at a higher side, or you have the capacity to build your self-esteem. So
Mhm.
have you really taken any risk at all? Having said that, I will say a prayer which is coined by Sir Norman Vincent Peale. So Norman Vincent Peale was a motivational speaker. He was an author. He was also a religious leader in America. So he said, uh, I'll read that out. Lord, give me the courage to change the things which can be changed, the serenity to accept the things that cannot be changed, and the wisdom to know the difference. So here lies the answer. We should have the courage to change the things that can be changed and the serenity to accept things that cannot be changed. All of us over here are, you know, flooded with bad news each day.
True.
But then we cannot do anything about it. We cannot change that situation. If we cannot change that, then it is okay, better to accept. So here lies this difference between being strong, mentally strong, and resilient. Mentally strong is like you are confident and optimistic. You
Mm.
know that it has happened to you, and you know that you will also come out of it. You will find ways. And about resilience is like you take a little time to bounce back. And as I already said, it's okay not to be okay, but it's never okay to not ask for help. We must
Absolutely.
always ask for help. Yeah.
So I
So
remember there's a book called Ikigai, right? There's a Japanese book, famous book.
absolutely, yes,
So
yes,
one thing,
yes.
Okinawa, for example, has one of the oldest living community in the world, right? The average age is around 85 years. They celebrate birthdays even higher. And in a
Yes.
social they have a strong social structure wherein, these birthdays are celebrated among oldies. They all get together, 90, 95-year-olds, 100-year-olds. They get together and do this. So social, what you're ultimately saying is, it's important to get in, connect with your
Yeah.
friends, be in a social structure so that you feel a sense of belonging and you are able to ask questions honestly, right? Very,
Right.
very,
Right.
very true. Very true. So I want to ask Nitin. Nitin, I mean, you see, we know that the mental well-being, of course, is a sub-factor of many things. But tell me, what is the importance of physical fitness, and how can we make a difference there in these difficult times?
All right. So
Ah,
mental, there are three things that I think is very important for each one of us. One is the physical fitness.
yes,
Number two is the emotional fitness. The third one
yes,
is mental fitness, right? All the three are
true,
important.
true.
Now, from a physical fitness, uh, there is something called as endorphins that gets released. The moment we exercise, there's a happy chemical that gets
Right,
released. I'm a sports enthusiast, so
right,
I'm somebody who blocks the calendar, ensures that I exercise. And the moment I exercise, there's some amount of happiness, some amount of zeal, enthusiasm that happens.
you bet. Even unofficial dancer too.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Don't
yeah.
tell us.
That was long back though.
Tell me, is dopamines the same as? I mean, does it come in the
No,
same
uh,
with the same
yeah.
aspect?
Dopamine also gives you happy chemicals. However,
Yeah.
it's from a different perspective. So you
Yeah.
shop, you feel happy. You get a
Yes.
message on your phone, you feel important. You achieve a
Right.
particular task, you feel important. So that's dopamine.
Okay.
Endorphins is basically when you exercise, when you laugh,
Right. Right.
endorphins gets
Right.
released. So
Right.
what are those happy chemicals? It basically does is basically it gives you the energy throughout the day. Some of the things that I would recommend you to do is number one is the yoga. In yoga, I would recommend pranayama, especially at this particular point of time, because pranayama would help you with your breathing system, your nostrils, and your lungs. And
Mm.
this particular COVID the major attack is on the lungs. So the moment you do pranayama, it clears your lung system. So how to do pranayama is something that I would not administer here. You can look at several videos. The do's and don'ts are already available. The second one is the cardio exercises. When I talk about cardio are exercises like skipping, jumping jacks, running, spot running. Those are exercises that basically increases your pulse level. The moment your pulse levels increases, your heartbeat increases, and thereby the heart beats faster and the blood increases. The BP increases, the blood pressure, and therefore the fat in the body reduces, and that helps you reduce your fat. Now that is the second thing that I recommend to all of you, which is your cardio exercises. And the third thing, which is absolutely important, is your weights. Let's assume that I've done my cardio exercises, I have reduced weight, and what happens typically is the fat that is burned leave the muscles sagging. And that is why it is very important for me to do the weights. Weights need not necessarily have to be dumbbells. It can be the body weights like pull-ups, push-ups, the lunges, squats. Remember these names. These are very, very important basic exercises that can really rejuvenate you and really put you back into shape. The moment you exercise and at the end of it, you are feeling happy, you have the energy for the rest of the day. During this pandemic, one thing that is happening for all of us is the lockdown. We are in between these four walls, and a lot of people have isolated ourselves, and therefore it has also let each one of us be in our rooms. In fact, while I'm speaking, I'm isolating myself for the last 3 to 4 days, and I think this is how it's going to be for the next 2 days. How do we still be happy in this situation? It's just not one is the physical aspect of it. I would want to add one more thing, Prashant, here, which is called as to all the listeners, please remember this. It is called as TFAR, which is thinking, feeling, action, and results. TFAR, and TFAR stands for, basically the trigger is your thought process. The first thing that happens to anybody is a thought. Thinking leads to feelings, and feeling leads to action, and action leads to results, which basically means to say, let's assume that I'm a badminton player. When I go on the court, at times, what I feel is the opponents play really well. They're really strong. That's the first thing that occurs to me. So that's a thought level. The moment that happens at the thought level, at the feeling level, there's an amount of fear that sits in. The moment there is a fear, there is the action is, of course, underperformance. And to the fact of matter, my hand trembles. Though I've been playing badminton for a very long time, my hand trembles not because of anything, not because of the fear, not because of the opponents. It's just because the mind speaking the negative thoughts. On the contrary, there are times that there are really good opponents, and I go with a positive mindset saying that this is my game, this is this is how I'm going to play. The feeling of confidence leads to better performance, which is the action, and the result can be a victory. I'm really not bothering about the results. I'm not talking about the results here because you must have heard this. Karam kar, fal ki asha mat kar. I'll repeat that. Karam kar, fal ki asha mat kar. That means to say, do your bit. Don't really expect on the results. The reason being, the moment one eye is on the result, there is only one eye which can focus on the work. And therefore, it's important for us to be absolutely focused on what is under our control, and what is under our control is our thoughts. So we got to be checking every now and then whether we have been thinking positive or we are thinking neutral, at least, if not negative. So with this, a balance of mental, emotional, and physical health, I think we will be having a happy life, which is one of the most important.
Well said, beautifully said. So it's all about, again, the mindset. It's about being more in the moment than in the past and or the future. And to achieve that, you have to take actions, whether it is physical fitness or mental fitness or breathing exercises, or all that which goes together to make you focused on what you're doing now. And this now is what you have in your control, right? So
Absolutely.
that's wonderful. Very well said. So I also want to ask you, Nitin, we have difficult times. This has been going on from 2020, that we're in a kind of a pandemic mode. And most of us are living in our homes with family. And because of that, there are, emotional, there are a lot of good things happening. Husbands are actually in the kitchen maybe and washing plates and cleaning up the floor. But there are also stresses relating being under one roof, I mean, all the time. So there's this body bubble. So what is the way to handle that kind of stress in these times?
Oh yeah, absolutely. All the husbands would agree here that we are
we're working hard.
doing,
We're working hard.
we are working absolutely hard, and probably that has helped us keep fit.
Right.
Yeah. Gone are those days where ladies used to take care of the kitchen, men used to do the outside work. But now I think
Right.
it's equal work for all of us. And I think this pandemic has taught each one of us a beautiful lesson that the biggest gift that we have is our family. Right. Earlier, I think we used to spend not more than 2 to 3 awakened hours with our family. And now it is the thought process again. A lot of people say that our family, I'm just stuck at home and stuff like that. But if you look at it, I think we need to be grateful and have the gratitude.
Gratitude. Yes.
Yeah, and the family and the universe is basically telling us, hey, slow down. You've had enough of work. I think it's time for you to spend time with family. And I think it's the greatest gift that each one of us have.
During COVID times, yes.
And the statistics say that 30% increase in divorce rates. And because of this pandemic, my mom had never scolded my son, which is her grandson, and it's leading to pent-up emotions, and thereby, the kids are not able to go out and play even in the apartment complex, and so he would want to do the naughty things at home, and that can irritate the adults. So all of these are a part and parcel of this lockdown. The first and foremost thing that I would want all of you to understand is, firstly, be grateful for this time that we are all spending. The second one is, I would request each one of you to come together and plan a routine. It's nothing but a teamwork. A family is a team, right? So I'll just give you an example of what we did. Is the three of us in a family, we came together and we said, hey, while this is what's going to happen, let's have a routine for each one of us so that we are planned throughout the day. And let us ensure that there's 2 hours of family time. And we gave that responsibility to our kid. You plan the 2 hours of family time. So he drew out a very beautiful plan that we are going to have one meal together. The three of us are going to have one meal together. We are going to have 1 hour of playtime. It could be carom, it could be badminton, it could be anything at home. 1 hour of family time together. Right. And when he goes to bed, it's a 20 minutes of family time where we have to tell him stories. Without our knowledge, today we look forward to that time. And we know that once the lockdown is off and when we go back to work, it is all going to be days as usual. But these days it's so beautiful, and we look forward to that evening 20 minutes, afternoon lunchtime together, and the 1 hour together. So just it's important for us to come together, plan out our routines, believe that each one of us are meant for each other, help each other at difficult times, invest in upskilling, do something creative. And I think that's going to make a family happy and stay together.
Very true. And there's no denying any of what you said. It's absolutely making sense. It's team spirit at the end of the day. Family, we have to be grateful for what we have and count our blessings. And there are many ways we can feel bad, and it's all a state of mind, whether we want to count our blessings or look at all the negatives that they're there. And so let me ask Roshni one question before. I also request every member, everyone who's there on line right now to ask your questions, because we want to make this as interactive as possible. So I've got a few questions in mind, so I'm going to ask them, one more maybe, and after that we can put it down to questions from the audience. What are the ways now? See regarding family and the whole build-up which happens in pandemic times, Roshni. I mean, communication is so important, and stress because of communication and lack of communication. So what are the tools that we can use for better communication?
So yes, for better communication, Nitin already said, spending family time. That's the best way to do it. Yes. There's no other better way than spending time together, opening up honest conversations. And of course, and in families which have children, as I said, like whatever we feed them makes them basically, right? So they are fed on whatever inputs we give. So that's very important, that how we behave in front of them, what we tell them, how resilient we are in this crisis. Mm-hmm. So this is something a very important part of communication as far as this pandemic is concerned.
Right.
So communication is, it's not only about talking as well. It's about learning new skills also. So music can be a way of.
Hmm. I think we lost Roshni there. We'll have to get her back. Hello.
Uh,
Yeah, can we get Nitin to speak about this?
yeah.
While
So
she comes back. Yeah.
I will add to what Roshni says.
Yes.
Very important, right? 3 to 5
Right.
people in the family. There is mother-in-law,
So
father-in-law.
sorry, I lost connection.
Go ahead,
That's
Roshni.
okay. That's okay. That's okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Roshni, please go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. So anything can be a communication. It can be music. It can be sports. Anything. Spending family time together.
Right.
And of course, nowadays, since children are studying from home, it's like school from home or college from home, whatever. So it is also important that since children are online, that we keep an eye and we actually, if possible, like we are also doing our own jobs as well. But then, how much ever possible, if we do the classes with them, that
Right.
will, yes, that will
Build the
grow
bond.
the interest in them for studies or maybe learning more. Or
Mhm.
sometimes we as parents can threaten that we do not know this, please explain. And of course, in our times, we didn't study a lot of things that they are studying now. So there's always a space for learning. That is one thing. We
True.
can share each other's ideas, whatever we do, like between the husband and the wife as well. What the husband does and what the wife does,
True.
right? Their area of work, how they do it, what are the challenges they face, how can they overcome it? Like, we can do all these things during this lockdown or during this pandemic when we have ample time to spend with family. Otherwise, what happens is like our, you can say, professional stress is our stress,
Right.
right? We vent it out in the family definitely, but we never tell it, or we probably never share what is happening in the work front. But here we can now we can always do that. So
True.
communication is about clearly expressing yourself through words, growing together with music or with sports, or
Yes.
even doing the household chores together. That
Yes.
also grows bonding.
Right.
And that is also a communication. So all these things are communication. Communication, I want to specifically tell, is not only about speaking.
Right. Right. Great. So, Nitin, I want to ask you this question. I mean, we just spoke about the professional stress, but people are in professional stress. People are, worried about their jobs or have lost their jobs or worried about their businesses. So, what are the kind of things they should be doing to build their career or, upskill themselves in these
Yeah,
difficult times?
you gave a very right word, upskilling.
Yes.
I think this
Yes.
is the time for everyone to upskill themselves.
Yes.
Don't really be the run of the mill.
Yes.
Everybody is getting into IT, so even I would want to get into IT. Everybody is doing science, so even I would want to do science.
Yes.
I think we should move out of the mindset. Well, it used to be so around two to three decades back that join the flock in
Yes, just do
what
engineering or become a doctor.
yeah,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
everybody does engineering and my son has to be engineering, but that's not the case today. It's
yes,
completely different. It's called as swadharma. Swa is oneself and dharma is something that is innate to them. It is
right.
very important for one to recognize what is one's own passion. What is the passion?
We have a bit of a disturbance. I think, Roshni, can you just put that on mute? Maybe your side. It looks like it's from your side, Roshni.
Yeah.
Okay, just mute yourself. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, Nitin.
Yeah. So
Thanks.
I was talking about swadharma, which is the innate quality that one has, which
Yes.
basically means to say the passion, the capabilities that one has is one needs to recognize. That means to say there are two things. One is the passion. What am I really, really passionate about is something that one needs to identify. So sit down, do a self-evaluation, and or speak to some of their friends and understand what are the things that they are good at. And secondly, look at the competency level. Well,
Yes.
I'm passionate about, say, flying an aeroplane, but am I good technologically? If I'm not, then that's not something that's made for me. So do a good marriage or a culmination of the competency levels and the passion. When these two things meet, I think one will be able to achieve to the best possible extent. For example, we can take several examples. I'm thinking of Sachin Tendulkar right now.
Yes.
He had so much of conviction that he said, I'm not going to study anymore. I'm gifted with cricket, and I'm going to continue that, and I'm also passionate about it. And today Sachin is what he is today, because of that one decision. And I would just I saw this picture, which basically was an instructor who's looking at a giraffe, an elephant, a snake, a monkey, a horse, a tortoise. And he's saying, I'm going to give you a race for 100 meters, and then you got to climb the tree and then come back the 100 meters. Whoever is going to win is the best animal. Now, that is what it used to be, right? Now, each one of them are gifted differently. The elephant is stronger. So you can't really measure everybody on the same yardstick, using the same yardstick. So similarly, not each one of us are the same. Each one of us are different. So we got to identify what is that which is different. Prashant, if I have a couple of minutes, I would want to give you a story.
Please, you have all the time.
Right. There was a discussion. The story is coming to my head. There is a conversation that's happening between two gods. I would call them as God 1 and God 2.
All right.
This is several years back. Every human being was supernatural, had supernatural powers. So they were misutilizing it. So the God 1 says, I'm going to take off all the supernatural power and then hide it somewhere. Where should I hide it? So the God 2 says, hide it up in the universe, up in the sky, so that they would not reach it. So God 1 says, no, someday human beings will reach there and find it. So God 2 says, okay, deep under the earth. The God 2 says, no, they're going to find it. Then the God 2 says, down under the waters. So the God 1 says, no, they're going to dive deep in, and one day they're going to find it. So then the God 1 decides, I'm going to keep it right within themselves, and the human beings are going to search for it everywhere, but within themselves. And that's the fact of the matter. We spend a lot of time doing everything else, but have we spent real time to understand ourselves, to look within ourselves, to improve within ourselves, identify what our goodness is, what are our strengths, what are our capabilities? And the moment we start working on that, I think we will be achieving what we are made for.
So that purpose in life, isn't it? That inner calling, that understanding the strengths and then working on it. So this should apply to entrepreneurs too, and many of us who are been there for many decades in whatever we are doing. This same yardstick should apply.
Absolutely. I worked for 15 years in the corporate. Well, I loved what I did, but somewhere the calling or the purpose is something that I identified after 15 years. And thanks to my soul searching, I did a lot of work before I'm doing what I'm doing right now.
True. Great. So, Roshni, if you could unmute yourself. Thanks. Yeah, there's a question which has come from the chat box. It's it says, nowadays we are getting so much of bad news. Okay, obviously there's some systemic factors, some of it which we have no control over, whether it is our friends or relatives or things which are beyond our control. So those are very painful events, and we have no control over that. So it makes us stressful, anxious, worried. How in these times, how can we keep the positive mindset?
Yes. So you have to be, So the answer is, we have to be very mindful about what we are thinking. The moment a negative thought seeps in, we have to shoo that away literally, right? As I said, we are human beings. Each one of us, including me, if I'm saying this, if I'm replying to this, even I have these thoughts, even at least at one point of time in the day, because even I'm also hearing all such news, right? So what happens is, it so happened to me, I was not feeling well yesterday. I'm talking about yesterday. I was not feeling well. The next moment, my God, am I getting it? Right? So the moment I thought, I said, no way, I'm not going to think that way. Right? There can be many factors for not feeling well. It's so hot out here.
Right.
and we are inside the house. So mentally, as it is, we are not able to go out. We are not able to explore. So every factor is affecting. So that can be the possibility that I'm not feeling well. Why I have to think that I got that?
Right.
No way. I'm not going to think that way. If symptoms come, let me wait and see. If symptoms come, then fine. I'll go for treatment. I'll isolate myself. I'll go for treatment. Why should I panic? So it's okay. It's okay to have those feelings, but the moment it comes in, please shoo that away. Think something good, like whichever
Right.
interests you, or deviate your thoughts into some kind of action that interests you. Maybe watching a movie, maybe listening to a music, maybe reading, maybe cooking, maybe teaching your children, or maybe just gossiping, or
Yeah.
that's what, yeah, just wasting time, we can say. But this wasting time is also sometimes useful for us, given at this situation it is very much useful, because it takes away all those concentration from the negativity. So
Wonderful. So yeah,
yeah, so
I
it's
agree with
actually,
you.
I just want to add up into that, like it's a vicious circle, it's a trap.
Mm-hmm.
During such adversities, it's human nature to think of the negativities. Those thoughts come into our mind first, and
Yes.
it's kind of a cycle. We get trapped into those thoughts, and we feel that helplessness, and
True.
our vision narrows down. The moment our vision narrows down, we feel irritated.
True.
Feeling irritated means you lose connection with everybody. You don't want to talk to anybody. You don't want to, message anybody or whatever. You don't want to do your work. You just want to sit idle and think about those. So the
Right.
best thing is to shoo that away and involve yourself into something productive or something interesting, whatever interests you.
Absolutely. Of course, but for some people who are in much more further pain because of people, I mean, around them
Absolutely, absolutely.
lost,
The thing,
that would be even more traumatic, right? In that situation.
yeah, it's about the prayer. Like, we have to accept whatever we cannot
Yes.
change, and we have
Yes.
to change those that we can change. It's all
Right.
about that.
Absolutely. So again, it's all about mindset. It's about having,
About myself.
listing
Absolutely.
down what you have. You have, thankfully, you're alive and healthy, and you can make a difference.
Absolutely. Be
Together
grateful.
as a team, as a family, you can make a difference. Whatever thing,
Absolutely.
so those are the
Absolutely.
things, right? Great. So
Absolutely.
there's another question which has come from Rotarian Mr. Ranjit Singh signing. How do we help our seniors, elders to feel, positive and cheerful during these times? Because anyways, they're also kind of closed up and in an
Absolutely.
environment like,
Absolutely.
yes.
Absolutely. As I said, Mr. Saini, you must be having some kind of activities of your interest. That is one. Second is meditating. You have to calm your mind. Third is sleeping.
Sleeping
And
well.
I do sleeping very well. I mean, not, when we are in stress, we do not actually sleep well, right?
Mm.
We sleep for very few hours. So that's not done. We have to meditate and calm our mind, then go to sleep. Probably we can sleep well then. One more thing that we can do is engage in some social activities. Since you have that kind of an experience coming from that age bracket, whatever little way we can make a difference, it will help. It gives that pleasure. It feeds
Belongingness.
our happy. It feeds our happy hormones.
Yes.
So definitely, yes, you have this sense of positivity when you do these things.
Right. So, Nitin, there's another question from Rotarian Mr. Anurag. He says, in this internet-driven world, we are knowingly or unknowingly getting exposed to various negative news. Similar question, maybe from social media or TV media. How can we counter this? Any new kind of causing a tremor emotions in us? So it's the same similar question, but then I'm addressing it to you. You're muted, Nitin. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fact of a matter.
Yes.
This is how human brains work. It gets attracted towards negativity sooner than the positivity. That is
Right.
how news business sells. When
Yes.
there is negative news, the news sells. And that's where you see the breaking news and the WhatsApp forward
That's
every
where the
second.
TRPs are.
Yeah,
Even
these
the
are absolutely. In fact, a cousin of mine who had a COVID positive started looking at the WhatsApp forward, and then she got traumatized because
yeah.
of the kind of forwards that she saw was devastating,
Yes.
and she came out of WhatsApp. So it is the choice of ours to see how much to see and see what to see. Well, newspaper headings. The moment you see something which is irrelevant, absorb the heading and then move on. Don't really get into the nitty-gritties of it, and it is not even required. It's not going to make any difference in our life if something has some happens to somebody in a different part of the world. Well, we can empathize, but that
Yes.
can't make any change to us. So it is important for us to stay in the more positive mindset. I've already spoken about
Yes.
TFAR. One other thing that I would want to tell you is negative thought really impacts our cells. It impacts our energies throughout the day. In our sessions, I administer an NLP technique where I call one of the participant and ask the participant to think about one of the most unhappy moment, one of the most disturbing moment for 1 minute. That person closes the eyes, thinks about it for a minute. The face gets sullen, it's sad. And after 1 minute, the person is supposed to raise the hand, and I'm going to push the hand, and the person is supposed to have a resistance, and the resistance is gone. And after a while, I call the same person and ask that person to think about positive thoughts. And after a minute, you see the smile and all the stuff, right? And then after a
Right.
minute, the person holds the hand up. And when I push, there's a huge resistance, which basically means to say that 1 minute of negative thought can really damage your cells, damage your energy, damage your enthusiasm, that it can't even resist a push.
Absolutely.
Imagine if somebody is reading negative news, has negative thoughts through and through, the kind of damage it can have on your physical system
Right.
is something that cannot be explained.
Beyond
It's
words.
beyond, yeah. A lot
Yeah.
of people go to the doctor saying that everything is fine with me, but
Yes.
I have body pain, head pain, and stuff like that. And the major cause is the thoughts. Again, if you would want to know what you're
They call it
thinking,
I'm sorry, they call it psychosomatic diseases, right? Most of what you have, it's all psychological, and it builds
absolutely.
up into your health problems, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So it is told that if you would want to know what you're thinking, ask
Yes.
yourself how you're feeling. If
Right.
you want to know what you're thinking, ask yourself how you're feeling. And
Yes.
there is no thought that will stay in our head rent free. It is going to
Right.
cost you it. So
Cause,
might as well have a happy thoughts
positive.
and yeah, positive thoughts and pay for the rent.
So I think if one thing goes pretty. I mean, I've also experienced where I feel that we should actually stop watching too much of this news. This breaking news stuff. We just have to stop that. Probably watch good movies and spend time with family and make it. What's the point, anyways? You have to keep yourself protected, healthy, do all the exercises, mental and physical. And why should we get into these news? It just keeps repeating itself, including now the PLA situation and the Palestinian situation, Israel, and all that. I mean, how is it going to help us? That's probably the point that you're driving to, right,
Yeah,
Nitin?
we don't have control over what they're going to show, but we have
Yeah.
absolute control about what we are going to see.
Right. So there's a question from Miss Shreya Manna. This I'm addressing to Roshni. Does maintaining gratitude generally help? How does it help in emotional and mental levels? So
Yes,
gratitude.
yes, of course. Gratitude always helps.
Yes.
It helps because when we feel grateful to something, it's all we see the positive sides of each thing. So each day, it's not only it's about the negatives and positives. So
Right.
we try to see the positive part of the day.
Mm-hmm.
What we had. We had food on our plate. We have a roof over our head, right? We have
Yeah.
this electricity on. So my children, my husband, my mother is safe. So
Yes.
I got another day to
Yes.
see the nature or enjoy life, right?
Yes.
So these are the positive things among all the negative news that we are getting. So let us
True.
be grateful. The moment we put our energy into this gratitude, into the positive aspect, we start developing this happy hormones. I am secreting this happy hormones, and
Mm.
our immune system gets affected. That is, we get better immunity. The more
Mm.
we are stressed, the immunity becomes lower. So definitely gratitude helps.
We have a similar question, so I know. I mean, I'm just going to read the gentleman's name, Mr. Neeraj Khandelwal, who says way to reduce stress on senior citizens. So it's a similar question. I'm just mentioning the name. The next one is from Miss Sagarika Mukhopadhyay. How to empathize with people who are losing their loved ones. How to motivate and prevent them from going down the lane of psychological depression, panic, anxiety, and psychosomatic problems. Again, Nitin?
Yeah, see, we all we can do in such situation is empathize and be of help to
Yes.
whatever extent that is possible. Just being around, making their life a lot more easier by maybe helping them with the kitchen work, helping them with the cleaning the house. Those are things that we can do within our family. If it's somebody who is not in our family, and if you would want to console them, a call a day, asking them how they are doing. All of these things are something that they need, because in such situations, you know what, time is the best healer.
Yes.
Time is the only thing that can heal such situations. You really can't do much about such circumstances, because a loss is a loss to a large extent. And also it completely depends on how one takes a loss of life. I know of some people during this pandemic, after a month or so, they are back into their regular routine, while some of them have really gone into the mental health issues. If it's a actual mental health issue, one thing that we need to advise them is to go to the experts. It is important
Yes.
for them to recognize, and we need to ensure that they are administered by the experts,
Yes.
because a lot of people shy away from saying that, you know what, I have mental issues, because people think otherwise.
Yes.
So giving them the right direction, being there as a support system is something that is very important.
Absolutely. Very true. There's no other way about it. I mean, today, if people are suffering in any way, what we can do is do our bit in whatever way is possible, whether it's if it is somebody who needs help in monetarily, even that way, I mean, that gives us some peace of mind helping, and in other ways also. Whether it is.
Prashant,
Yes.
can I just add something to it?
Yes, Roshni, please.
Yeah, just one line. That sometimes only listening also helps.
Yes.
Right? Only listening, nothing. We don't have to do anything but to listen to them. The once the person pours their heart out,
Yes.
it's like they feel relieved.
I stand for
I stand for
I stand for
mental health
and wellness.
Do you?
Do you?